policy. We are very happy that you joined us on this occasion. I'm Helena Polomik. I will be your moderator today. Let me introduce myself just briefly because some of you may not know me yet. I am the new policy advisor in charge of cohesion policy and integrated urban development at Eurocities. I will be happy to help you in any question you might have on the subject. Basically, I'm replacing Márton Matko, who you know very well. I'm here today with my colleague Pietro Revilio and our guest speaker Katarzyna De Vavri, who is the advisor to the MEP Jan Olbrycht at the European Parliament. They have been in charge of the MFF files, and Mr. Olbrycht is also the president of the Urban Intergroup at the European Parliament. So Katarzyna will share a very, very useful experience with us today. Thank you very much for that. I will show briefly what we are going to do today with you. First of all, we are going to talk about the multi-annual financial framework, the state of play. Then on the cohesion policy related legislative package, and finally we will see if there are some questions, we can discuss those. So let's get started. On the MFF, Katarzyna will present you the broader context and the main elements of the proposal, which were published in May 2018, so basically a year ago, and she will explain the position of the Parliament and what is ahead of us in this regard. So if you're ready, you're welcome to start.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to share with you some useful things, I hope, concerning the next EU budget, and in the second part, some aspects of cohesion policy. Let's start straight away because I have a lot of information to share with you today. I know that maybe some slides will be complicated for you, so I will try to pass a bit more time on them, and some of them I will just pass through. In any case, you will get my presentation in the end of this webinar. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to, maybe after the first part on the MFF, to put your questions. If not, I will be very happy to reply to your questions in the end of my presentation. Concerning the multi-annual financial framework procedure, I would like to underline that the MFF is in the hands of member states. It means that the Council needs to unanimously agree on the content of the next MFF and, of course, the amounts. And the European Parliament has less role to play in the end of the procedure because we have only the consent. It means that the European Parliament can say only yes or no to the Council proposal. If the EP will say yes, the MFF will will be approved. But I would like to remind you that the European Parliament might say no, and it means that we resend it back to the Council, and Member States need to retake another decision concerning the amounts and the whole MFF. Inside the European Parliament, I would like to share with you that we have standing rapporteurs. It means that those rapporteurs, they deal with the current MFF, so 2014-20. They were responsible for revision of the current MFF. So we made the current MFF much more flexible in our mid-term revision. And the same rapporteurs, they are responsible for negotiations of the next one. So after 2020, we know that the Commission proposed the new dates for 7 years period, 21-27, and we have two rapporteurs, so my boss, Jan Olbrycht from the EPP group, and we have a French MEP, Isabelle Thomas from S&D group, and it means as well that this file is very important for the European Parliament because we have co-rapporteurship. We have two main groups. And I would like to let you know that for us, own resources of the next MFF is absolutely linked to the MFF discussions, so the new own resources of the European Union, and that's why we linked the two together. And for the own resources, we have another Polish MEP from the EPP group responsible, Janusz Lewandowski, and Gérard Deprez from ALDE group. So just to show you that we have two different packages, MFF one package and own resources the second one, and they are completely politically linked inside the European Parliament. I would like to just show you the context of our discussions. After the revision of the current MFF, European Commission decided to start the whole process of reflection by publishing 5 scenarios on 28th of June 2017, and you have the link to this document. This reflection paper shows different scenarios for the European Union for different policies, and you see the volume. The Commission reflected in which scenario you will have a lower volume of MFF, so less money, in which one you need to have much more money than today. And so I leave you this slide, you can have a deeper look on it, but it shows that Commission reflected if we want to keep some policies, if we want to reduce it, we need to reflect all of this in the end when we decided what the Union should do together, and in this case, how it should be financed. In the context of MFF discussions, we cannot forget about Brexit. This is a huge, from one side, problem concerning the EU budget and the UK contribution, but at the same time it might be a good challenge to a bit modify the current, the next MFF. The challenge of the Brexit, the first one is the Brexit gap. It means that if UK is no more in the MFF, we will have between 10 to 11 billion less money a year. This is according to the Commission calculations. And we know that the European Union today faces new priorities which are linked to the protection of borders, to the migration, to the climate change, and according to Commission calculation as well, those new priorities which are not covered completely in the current MFF will cost about 11 billion a year. So the total gap between the current MFF and this new situation of the new MFF, so without UK inside and with new priorities, we need to have 25 billion a year, and we need to find this money. And we have different solutions. The first solution would be that the member states' contribution, so what the member states are paying every year to finance the MFF, should be just bigger concerning the percentage of their GNI, so their richness. Another solution would be just to find new own resources. I will spend a bit more time in the future slides to show you different own resources that we have today and the new Commission proposal. Or the second solution would be as well to reduce some policies. And I will show you in the presentation that what the Commission has done is actually to mix those different solutions. So we have some new own resources proposal, we have some reduction of policies, as you know, cohesion policy, CAP, as one of the biggest ones. And we hoped, the European Parliament hoped that the Commission will propose that the Member States should pay a bit more of the GNI percentage. Unfortunately, the Commission's proposal is not satisfied for the European Parliament. And once the Commission started this reflection with the 5 scenarios how to deal with the next MFF, straight away, the 14th of March, the European Parliament voted in plenary session our initial resolution, just to show up what do we think about the future MFF. And at the same time, we voted another resolution at the same day, but it was another document concerning the reform of European Union's system of own resources. So two different resolutions to show the European Parliament what do we expect that the Commission will do. And we wanted to do it in March because we knew it that the Commission will present probably at the beginning of May their proposal, and we wanted to influence the European Commission with our ideas. And the 2nd of May, European Commission published its proposition concerning the future MFF, and on this slide, I have put 5 different documents that has been published in the common package of the MFF. And just to show you, so you have here the communication to the different institutions, so communication to the European Parliament as well. And in this communication, the European Commission is presenting the idea. The second document is the proposal of the Council regulation laying down the MFF. And as you can see, this is for the Council, because this is the Council decision, not the European Parliament decision. That's why it's only the proposal for a Council decision. The third document is, as always, published when we work on the new MFF, a document called Interinstitutional Agreement between the different institutions, so between the European Parliament, the Council and the Commission on budgetary discipline and the cooperation in budgetary matters. So this is not something new. We have now another institutional agreement linked to the current MFF. And the fourth document, this is something new. This is the completely new regulation to the European Parliament and the Council, because this is the normal co-decision procedure. And this new document is on the protection of the Union's budget in case of generalized deficiencies as regards the rule of law in the member states. This is something new, and this is because the Commission wants to link rule of law mechanism and the sound financial management of the budget. And the Commission is presenting this document and the logic of the publication of this document, that if the rule of law is not respected in some of the member states, we are not sure whether the spending of the EU budget is secured, whether we have a good procedures, if there is something wrong, whether the courts are independent. So this is something completely new and absolutely linked to the MFF. And I can tell you that MFF will not enter into force without this regulation. But with this regulation, because this is the normal regulation, we have the same European Parliament and the Council, so member states, we have absolutely the same, we are on the same footing, so we have the same say. It's not like with MFF that we can say yes or no. This we are really co-decide, so we can really change the proposal. And the last document, very important, European Commission presented as well to the Council its decision on the system of own resources, because for the own resources, European Parliament have even less say than for MFF. We are only in the consultation process and not the consent process. And just to sum up some aspects of the Commission proposal for the new MFF 2021-27, the Commission proposed the same duration of the current one, so 7 years. You have figure 1 trillion euros, and here I have put it in constant prices. So the European Parliament political decision is that we are speaking with everybody on the MFF only in constant prices, because constant prices, we see the inflation inside, and unfortunately European Commission, I must say, sometimes plays with figures. You will see that with a lot of regulations, you can see only current prices. And with current prices, European Commission tried to sell the new MFF, and it's more positive for the European Commission, because it shows that MFF is bigger, that cuts are not so big. So we do not accept, and knowing that we would speak about current and constant prices, European Parliament decided that we are only speaking about constant prices. And you will see in our MFF, we have constant prices, and in all the regulations MFF related, we will put constant prices and current in brackets, just for the comparison. And I will show you after, but this MFF, to be honest with you, and this is something that the Commission has right by saying that the new MFF is bigger than the previous one, and I will show you why. But at the same time, concerning the amounts, MFF is bigger. It's about 4.6% bigger than the current one. If we take the current one without UK and with European Development Fund, this is something a bit maybe complicated for you, but just to let you know, European Development Fund in the current MFF is outside the budget. So European Parliament was not very happy about this because we cannot control it really. This is not in the budgetary procedure with the annual budgetary procedure. So the long-standing demand from the European Parliament was to integrate European Development Fund inside the EU budget. And we are happy that the European Commission has integrated in the new MFF, but at the same time, it's a huge amount of money integrated, and I will show you how we compare the current MFF and the new MFF. We integrated part of the EDF inside the current budget in order to compare. We cannot integrate whole EDF, and this is the case for the Commission proposal, because the part of the EDF which financed the arms, some part related to arms, we cannot, this is according to the treaties, we cannot finance by the EU budget. So I will show you this in the future. So here, just keep in mind that this is true that concerning the amounts, budget is bigger for 4.6%, but concerning the GNI percentage is less. I will show you after. And we see that Commission has proposed the reduction of sectorial programs from 58 to 37, which makes it very complicated to compare because we have completely mixed of some programs. And the very important message that cohesion policy is reduced by more or less 10% and CAP more or less 15%. And here you see the new structure of the budget, because we have a new structure with some clusters. We have new 7 headings. So you have this first heading, single market, innovation and digital. And here you have 3, so you have cluster of different policies. You have 1, research and innovation, 2, European strategic investment, 3, single market, and 4, space. And just let's have a look on the second heading, cohesion and values. So you have here a cluster of regional development and cohesion, economic and monetary union, and investment in people, social cohesion and values. So we are happy about the new structure of the headings. We think as a European Parliament that this is something more clear, more visible, and this clustering of different policies, why not? But this is true that it makes a bit complicated to compare with the current situation, because some, as I told you, some programs are a bit mixed or the scope is larger, so it makes it a bit different. And here I would like to show you on the left that with average of 2014-20 MFF, so current MFF, the Commission has put it EU27. So you see that this is without UK, and they have put it European Development Fund. So it means that the current MFF, if we want to compare to the current, which is hypothetical, not really existing, because we have still UK and we don't have EDF. So in this hypothetical current without UK and with EDF, it's 1.1 0.13 plus 0.03% of percentage of GNI. So it means how much the new MFF costs of member states. And in this new proposal for 21-27, it's only 1.11% of GNI. It means that the Commission would like member states to pay only 1.11% of their resources. And the European Parliament considers that this is not enough. It means that even if we have more money because member states are richer, we think that the member states should pay more of their richness to the European Union. 1.11 if it's not enough, and we made the calculations. How much money do we need? It was not taken for granted like this 1.2 or 1.3. We really made the calculations, and I will show you later that if we want to keep current policies such as agriculture policy or cohesion, if we want to put new priorities inside the new budget, we need to go for much more. We want to go for 1.3% of GNI, which makes 18% more than the current MFF. So not only 4.6% more, what the Commission has proposed, but we want to have 18% more what we have today. And the graph on the right side, you will see the evolution of the CAP, that it's going down, and economic, social, and territorial cohesion going down as well, but not so much as CAP. And the 2nd of May, when the Commission proposed the MFF, other DGs at the European Commission had some time to adjust the sectorial regulations, and between May 29th and June 14th, they presented one by one different MFF sectorial regulations, laying down new policies. And you see, as I told you, we are going to have less regulations from 58 to 37. And the rule of law mechanism, as I told you, this is something linked to the MFF. We are now sure that we won't have new MFF without this regulation. It will be one of the major parts of the next MFF deal with this rule of law mechanism. And I must tell you that the European Parliament is not against. We see that the Commission has right, that sometimes the EU budget might be in the not secure position if the rule of law is not respected concerning the budget. But the European Parliament would like to make this mechanism very universal. It means that it should be really prepared in order to protect EU budget, and no matter in which member state, because the situation might change and we can have a different situation in different member states in the near future. So it should be it should be really a universal mechanism for all member states. And one of the main elements that the European Parliament wanted to secure is that the final beneficiaries, it means SMEs, Erasmus students, people who get the agriculture subsidies, and all others, in the end, they should get the structure, the EU money, and the member states, in case that the rule of law mechanism is impacted them, they should pay from their own budget, because this is the commitment that they made in the MFF. So that's why this regulation will be very important. In the end, we don't want to punish NGOs or local and regional governments. It should be kind of a punishment for member states, and it's not the forever. We have different steps in the procedure, so we will see what would be the final look of this regulation. And very quickly, just to show you the system of own resources, today we have this financial contribution of member states. So in green, this is this GNI percentage. And on the two graphs on the right side, you will see that this own resources based on GNI income currently is 72%, and in the new MFF, the Commission would like to reduce it only to 57%. In order to make other new own resources more important, financing EU budget, in order not to have this EU budget only always with the negotiations of member states, how much do they want to pay of their contribution, but just to have other own resources. Today, so you see 2018, 60% of EU budget, you have this traditional own resources. It means the custom duties. So it would be the same share in the next MFF, about 16%. And we have currently as well 12% of the VAT, part of VAT as own resources. So you see that the current MFF, you have only 3 different sources of financing and mainly 72% GNI contribution of member states. And in this new proposal, not only 3 of them, but as well new own resource based on the accounting revenue of the ETS system, the new tax of non-recycled plastic packaging waste, and you have as well consolidated corporate tax base. And the Commission proposed to a bit simplified VAT. So it shows, we hope that the next MFF will have different sources of financing. But still, we are very happy that GNI would be less than, the share of GNI will be less important, which make the future, not the current ones, but the future negotiations may be a bit easier than today, because today we have this member states strategy that I want to put 1% of GNI, not more, or 1 point something and not more. And like this, it makes a huge change of the amount of MFF. But if the share of GNI would be less, it means that we will have other resources to finance the EU budget. And here I leave you this slide to have it in the future, so you can see the explanation of different current and the new own resources. But just to show you that we might have some problem, because today's proposal of the Commission from the 2nd of May put in consideration this new share of own resources. And we have put the question to the Commission that if the member states do not accept some new own resources, what will happen with the EC proposal? And so please keep in mind that today European Commission's proposal are taking account of this new own resources, but we are not sure whether member states will accept it. So if member states do not accept one or another one, it shows that we'll have another gap. And what we can do, either to finance the gap with the GNI contribution, or to reduce different policies. So this is nothing is taken for granted today. Everything is on the table, and if one element is not on the table, the whole puzzle is changing. So just to keep in mind that this construction of the Commission proposal is taking into account new own resources. So we will see whether member states will accept it. And once the Commission proposed it in May 2018, straight away the same month, 30 of May, European Parliament presented its political resolution just to send a message to the Commission in general that we are not happy about the amounts, that 1.11 is not enough. We want to have more money. we do not accept cuts in cohesion and CIP. We understand that we have new priorities that should be financed, but we need to find more money. But we like the 7 years period for the next MFF. We like the structure. So it has been the quick reaction of the EP sent to the European Commission. And we took some time, some more months until November 2018 to really present our view, what we called interim report. So in this interim report, we made all our calculations and we presented our views, how the new MFF should look like, how much member states should pay in, what do we think about new own resources. And we are putting this some conditions, and now we are not putting those conditions to the Commission, but rather to the member states. And here in this interim report, this is our negotiating mandate to negotiate with the member states the new MFF. And we are putting very clearly our red lines. It means that if you do not accept new resources, we might not accept the new MFF. If you don't go up with the amounts, we will not accept the new MFF. So this document of 14 November is rather to the member states in order to make our views very clearly. What do we think about the new MFF and under which conditions we will accept it. And here we have some main elements. I won't go, I have several slides of those elements, but just to show you the figures. So we are not happy about the figures. We want to have more money. It means 80% more than what the Commission has proposed. It means as well that we accept 7 years period, but we want to have the 7 years MFF as the last one, and to move progressively to the 5+5 period, knowing that it will be much more linked to the political cycle of the new Commission, new European Parliament. So we will see if the next MFF will be like this, but for sure the one after 2020 will have 7 years. We would like to have absolutely more flexibility. The mid-term revision of the current MFF showed that we need to have a more flexible budget, and that's why we want to have a legally binding mid-term revision of the new MFF. We accept the structure. However, at that time, the November 2018, we were not sure about some mixing of some programs, so we left the window open for our rapporteurs, sectorial rapporteurs, to in the end decide whether we like the new structure of some of the programs or not. Unity of the budget, it means that we are happy that all commitments and payments of the EU budget are in one place, including European Development Fund. This budgetized part and the part linked to army is of course separated of the EU budget. Rule of law, we are okay, but from the beginning we warned the Commission that the final beneficiaries of the EU should not be touched by this mechanism, and of course the new own resources are the conditions for us to accept the new MFF. And I leave you this slide and the second one concerning my main financial elements, but concerning the cohesion in red, we are absolutely against cuts in cohesion. We want to keep the current level of cohesion without UK. So if you take the current level of cohesion, you take out the UK, what the UK is getting, we would like to have in real terms the same budget, and this is the same for common agriculture policy. And here you have a list of everything that we want. So you see that we want to increase funding for Creative Europe, triple Erasmus, double Creative Europe, and other things. We rather want to go higher than to reduce some policies. And this is the most important element that I wanted to share with you. This is the Annex 3 to the interim report. And you have this breakdown per programs with 2018 prices. So those are these constant 2018 prices that the European Commission is speaking about. And here you have this first column, 2014-20 MFF, EU27 plus EDF. And this is this hypothetical current MFF. It doesn't exist because in the current we still have UK and we don't have EDF. So we made the calculations how the current MFF would look like inside with the EDF but without UK. So we are comparing to this hypothetical current MFF. The second column you have Commission proposal and the third one our proposal. And if I go with you to see the cohesion, you will see that we want to keep the cohesion today with the cohesion which, the next cohesion policy, we want to keep the same budget that the Commission that is today, and comparing to what is hypothetically today, what the Commission has proposed is a bit less for the whole cohesion. But if you go deeper to the European Regional Development Fund, this is true that Commission has proposed a bit more than which we have today. But if you see the Cohesion Fund is 46% less what is today. So with the whole calculations, we want to keep the same budget, and we consider that the European Commission's budget for cohesion is much less than what we have today. And so here I leave you with all those slides. You can see policy by policy, and in the end, when you see the total amounts, you see that concerning the GNI, Commission has proposed much less than the current one, 1.11, and today we have 1.16% of GNI, so the richness of the member state. And according to our calculations, to finance all what do we want to finance, it's 1.3, so it's much higher. And this is our starting position to negotiate with the member states. And just to sum up the MFF part, the state of play for today. So, as I told you, the European Parliament is ready to negotiate since 14th of November 2018, once we voted in plenary the MFF interim report. This is our mandate for the negotiations. But of course, we are not able to negotiate with the Council because Council is not ready to negotiate. Council needs to have its common position. And we know that different working groups inside Council are working on different elements. Just to underline, this is something very interesting, that the MFF in the end in the Council is not negotiated by ministers of finance like the annual EU budgets, but by GAC, so General Affairs Council, meaning ministers of foreign affairs. And at the same time, knowing that these negotiations of the next budget are the negotiations about the future EU, how the future EU should look like, this is not so. Not so weird that the GAC Council is negotiating MFF and the ministers of foreign affairs. And something very technical, but you need to know. Our problem is that European Parliament should negotiate it with the Council, so member states, ministers of foreign affairs. But we saw with the negotiations of the current MFF that in the end, ministers of foreign affairs, they are not capable to take such an important decisions concerning the future EU, and in the end, the final decision will be taken by heads of state and government, which is completely against treaties, because the European Council in the treaties has nothing to do with the MFF. But in practice, how the current MFF was negotiated and what we see, the next one will be negotiated in the same manner. European Council will prepare common position, and in the end it will be it will be the Council of the EU which will prepare the ground for the negotiations. And in the end, we'll have a European summit. During two summits, heads of state and government will take the final decisions. And as you can see, it will be a very tough negotiations, and you will have some gifts in order to make all member states around one table happy with one MFF. It means that one member state can say, okay, I will say yes for our position if you cut for me cohesion a bit less. Another one will say, okay, I will say yes for MFF if rule of law regulation will be changed in this point and that point. So you will see that around this table of heads of state and government, in the end, they will get some gifts, and those gifts are related to the sectorial MFF regulations. And that is why Council today is working on the document called Negotiating Box. And it makes the European Parliament furious, because in this negotiating box, this document, you have a table with different very important parts of the sectorial regulation put it inside. It means that from cohesion policy, for example, the rule N+2 is put it into negotiated box, because maybe in the end somebody will be happy with N+3. You have co-financing rate of ERDF, put it into the negotiating box. You have different elements of the classification of regions for cohesion, so transition, less developed, more developed, put it into negotiating box. And it makes the European Parliament furious, because in the end, once the European Council during the summit will decide on the MFF unanimously, they will send the protocol with the 200 conclusions to the Council different working groups, and they would just inform different groups that no more N+2, it will be N+3, the co-financing rate is changed, and this is decided, it's over. And in the end, Council will introduce those elements into the negotiating mandate. They will come to the European Parliament, negotiate different regulations, and we will have no say for this, because if you imagine that the head of states and governments decided, what can we decide? This is, I mean, one package which makes us completely furious. We do not accept it, and every single time that the working groups work on the MFF and sectoral files, we are sending to the Council the document saying that this is up to the future negotiations between Member States and between European Parliament, and this is not the decision that should be taken by the heads of states and governments. Unfortunately, it shows that it will be the same like in the previous negotiations. So we are trying to convince the Council now to take into consideration our proposal in the sectorial files, and we are not happy that the different very important parts of the sectorial regulations linked to cohesion, CIP, but of course not only, to other programs as well, are linked to this MFF negotiations. So just to sum up, this European Parliament, as we have the European elections end of May, was not able to really negotiate the next MFF because the member states are not ready yet. So the new European Parliament will negotiate it. It means that we will have new rapporteurs. I hope that Jan Olbrycht will be still the standing rapporteur for the MFF, but of course we'll see after the elections. So it will have a huge impact on the work on the future European Parliament. And just next steps, we know that the European Council is expecting to take the final decision probably in autumn 2019, so not in Sibiu during the summit in Sibiu in June. And we will see whether it will take the decision will be taken in autumn, maybe even not, maybe in 2020. It means that once the decision has been taken at the European Council level, it will go to the Council, different working groups, they will adjust their position concerning sectorial regulations from one side, and concerning the MFF, they will be only ready, so ministers of foreign affairs, to negotiate with the European Parliament, and we will see whether European Parliament in the end will say yes or will say no. So, and now we see that if it goes like this, probably the European Parliament might say no. So it will be very interesting, and of course, just to show you that Brexit is not over, we will see whether UK will be in, will be out, for how long will be in, and we will see. I just leave you with this reflection that if the UK in the end will stay 1, 2 or 3 years more, maybe will prolong the current MFF. This is not a completely strange idea. So we will see what the negotiations concerning Brexit will look like, and maybe the new MFF will not enter into force for 2021. So, but in any case, the European Parliament is very afraid. It's not that we are happy that maybe we will block MFF. I must tell you that we want to have this MFF ready, negotiated as soon as possible, and we are ready to negotiate since November last year. And we know that the late approval of the MFF means late approval of all sectorial programs and late start of the programming, especially concerned in the context of cohesion. It could be a disaster. But at the same time, from this budgetary perspective, I must tell you that knowing with the N+3 rules concerning the current MFF, 2021, 22, 23 will have this N+3, and with the late start of the current programming, the 2-3 years of the new MFF will be absolutely the whole payments to the member states will be linked to the current cohesion programming. So at the same time, we know that member states, they are not so in a hurry to speed up, to have everything ready for the 1st January 2021, because they know that they will spend a huge amount of resources, timing to get the payments back of the current MFF. So that's why concerning the cohesion, the European Parliament is afraid, because we know that it might be in the end a huge backlog like last time, that we have this old programming finishing and some new programming started, and after the member states will need to pay a huge amount. So that's why we are not happy that the MFF the whole negotiations are late. We want to speed up, but just to show you that it doesn't depend on us, it depends on the council side. So
all right, well, thank you very much, Kasia, for this very detailed and interesting insight up to now. I'm glad you're having a sip of water. I wanted to propose the same while I'm introducing the next chapter that Kasia will continue to present to us. This one will be on the Common Provisions Regulation and the European Regional Development Fund and Cohesion Fund proposal of the Commission, which was published at the end of May 2018. We will see the relevant aspects for the local authorities, and we will also cover the European Parliament's position on the issue at stake. What's interesting is that for us, I mean, Eurocities has worked extensively on the subject, and there were 4 areas that the participants of this webinar know very well by now. Given the time constraint, I will just point out that overall we have been very happy with this work, because we have worked with the Committee of the Regions and the Parliament, and most of our requests were taken on board. But Kasia will show a little bit, again, the insights and details. If you're ready, we can continue, and we will take the questions after.
Okay, I try to speed up a bit. Concerning the cohesion policy and now inside this new MFF, so you see how much in this new structure will be devoted to cohesion and values, and how much to economic, social and territorial cohesion. And here very useful figures. On the left graph you see the proposal of the Commission, and you see the European Parliament's proposal in the interim report from November 2018. So here you can see that if we compare this hypothetical current MFF 2014-20 without UK but including EDF, this MFF concerning the cohesion is bigger. Compared to what the Commission has proposed. So you see that Commission proposed 29% of the MFF devoted to cohesion, and as we want to have cohesion, so including ESF, at the same level that the current level, it would go to 34%. And here you see on the graph on the right side that this is true that ERDF in the Commission proposal is a bit bigger, because you have 200 million and not like today. But at the same time, you see the huge cuts for cohesion fund, and it's almost 46% cutted, and we want to avoid those cuts. So our cohesion is just bigger than what the Commission has proposed. And what I want to share with you some new point compared to the current MFF. With the current MFF negotiations, the national envelopes will known only by the end of the negotiations. So the national envelopes for cohesion was the consequence of the MFF negotiations. It was last time. And this time, while the Commission has proposed the new regulations, straight away the Commission presented the calculations of the national envelopes. So, to be honest, we don't know why the Commission has published those calculations. Of course, Commission is pretending that it was in order to make the whole process more transparent, but I would say that from the EP point of view, it's rather the Pandora box opened at the beginning and not in the end, because if we know that in general cohesion policy is cut 10%, and we see the calculations for some of the member states, they are cut at 25%, and the Commission pretended not go above 24% of cuts. It's quite difficult to start the negotiations for some of the member states, and especially to sell the message inside their member states how the new Commission policy will look like and why. So some of the political explanations of the Commission made publicly, it was that some of the funds, and I'm speaking now about cohesion fund, has been artificially inflated for political reasons for the current MFF, and for the next one, now the situation is over, we won't inflate the cohesion fund as such, so we get into the normal before crisis situation with this huge cut of cohesion fund, 46%. So here you see for your own country how much it will be cut compared to the current MFF. And here you have, I have only put it for your information, the slide with this new, with this NUTS 2 regions new calculation, knowing that the big change is for transition regions going from 75% of GDP until 100%, and in the current term it was only until 90%. It means that the Commission wanted to enlarge the scope of support of transition regions. And now back to the European Parliament procedure concerning the Common Provisions Regulation, so CPR. This is the ordinary legislative procedure, co-decision formally. It means that the European Parliament has the same equal footing like the Council, so member states. And I put it to you, the rapporteurs, so you see that CPR is a very important file in the European Parliament because we have two rapporteurs, Andrei Novakov from Bulgaria, from the EPP group, and Constanze Krell from SND from Germany. So as MFF, important file to have the co-rapportship. And you have some key dates for your information. We, in February this year, we were ready to negotiate with the Council. For CPR, the European Parliament had some formal trilogues, so those bilateral negotiations with the Council, and some technical meetings. But I must tell you that what we have adopted as a first reading position in March this year, it's the same, absolutely the same text that we voted for the mandate, because even with some trilogues, the Council blocked a lot of different parts of blocks of negotiation. So in the end, European Parliament saw that the Council is not fully fledged, ready to negotiate, and that's why we didn't want to block with some partial agreements. So we blocked the whole text in the first reading as exactly the same text that we voted for the negotiations. And just to tell you that for this current negotiations of sectoral affairs and MFF as such, European Parliament learned a lot from the previous negotiations, and we are absolutely blocked. The whole Parliament is blocked by interim report. It means that all the figures that you saw in my previous table, to in the end, with the addition of different sectoral programs, you have 1.3 of GNI. Those figures are absolutely respected in the sectorial regulations. It means that if you addition in the end all our first reading positions and the figures that we put in different sectorial regulations for Erasmus, Creative Europe, Cohesion, CAP, and of course other policies, the whole addition will be 1.3 GNI. So we considered that we made the tremendous work of coordination inside the European Parliament between MFF rapporteurs and sectorial regulation rapporteurs. We are all speaking about constant 2018 prices. In the regulation you will see current prices in brackets, just in order to be able to compare with the European Commission's proposal. And this for this I would say that the European Parliament is very proud that we managed to have a strong same voice inside the European Parliament. And you have the link to the text adopted in this first reading. And just going into details, as you know, CPR, just to show you the differences between the European Commission proposal and what the European Parliament thinks about. CPR concerning the European Commission should cover 7 funds. Concerning the European Parliament, it should cover 8 funds, like today, so including European Agriculture Fund for Rural Development, and we secure it in the first reading. And I wanted to spend some time to show you negotiations on partnership agreement, and I've just had a phone call with the colleague from Novakov's office, so CPR rapporteur, and I got the confirmation that unfortunately what you will see from the text, this is the text, the amendment, this is the text voted by the European Parliament. So this is our final first reading position, and you can see the difference compared to the text proposed by the Commission. And I leave you those slides concerning partnership agreement. I maybe won't go one by one because you will have it, all of them after my talk, but just to tell you that European Parliament wanted to strengthen the partnership agreement compared to what the Commission proposed. And I know that in this trilogue negotiations with the Council was on the complete opposite of the European Parliament's position. Council would like to have, Council doesn't want to have partnership agreement at all. So I would say the European Commission proposal is in between. Council without partnership and the European Parliament strengthening partnership agreement as such. And I leave you those slides to see how do we see the partnership agreement negotiations, legal framework. You will see that we want to include non-governmental organizations into the partnership agreements, research institutions and universities, and of course we strengthen a lot regional and local governments' role in the partnership agreement. We want the European Commission to publish another delegated act only for the partnership agreement. So you will see how, and we want to have the code of conduct of the partnership agreement. So I would say that the European Parliament is completely at the same position that the local and regional governments to have it and to have it stronger. But unfortunately, as I told you, this is not the end of the negotiations. This is only the beginning. So I'm not sure how it will look like the final partnership agreement part inside the CPR once agreed by the European Parliament and the Council. And just from the procedural point of view, I would like to let you know that this Parliament wanted to close all the legislations in the first reading position, able to oblige the new Parliament, because we do not know how the new Parliament will look like, to start the negotiations not from the complete scratch, but from today's point of view. So we are a bit obliging the new Parliament to start the negotiations with our position. Of course, somebody may say that we are not democratic, that we don't leave the new European Parliament to take their own decisions, but we consider that we need to hurry up with the negotiations, and that's why the new Parliament can absolutely not start from complete beginning of the whole process, but just rather to continue our position. Just to show you the difference between the EC proposal and the EP position concerning the goal of the cohesion for the investment for jobs and growth and Interreg. So you can see here that we want to have more money for Interreg that the Commission has proposed. Concerning the European Urban Initiative, something very important for you, we want to have 60 million more for European Urban Initiative than the proposed by the Commission. Concerning the transfers from Cohesion to Invest EU and the Connecting Europe facility, Connecting Europe facility transfer of 10 billion, it's completely impossible for the European Parliament. We want to have only 4 billion. Sorry, my mistake, I put it in Polish, not in English. So this is 4 billion and not 10 billion. Concerning transfer to Invest EU, Commission wanted to have 5%. We want to have less flexibility because we want to protect cohesion policy. With all those transfers, we consider that cohesion is seen as a huge pot of money that the member states can just modulate, transfer. Of course, it will be maybe easier to put as spend, but not really for the cohesion purposes. So for this transfer to Invest EU, we want to block it to 2% from ERDF, ESF, Cohesion Fund or EMIF before midterm review, and up to 3%. So in the end, not more than 3% after midterm review. So not 5 like the Commission wanted. transfer between funds, okay, 5%, but not between all the funds, only between cohesion funds. Transfer from the allocation from less developed only 5% and not 15%, because we consider the less developed regions, they should have a lot of money in order to catch up. So you see that we try to block the system, make it less flexible, but in order to protect cohesion policy. Co-financing rate important for you because we want to have more co-financing from the cohesion, so less national co-financing that the Commission has proposed. And so it was the part linked to Common Provision Regulation. And now I would like to spend some more time on European Development ERDF and Cohesion Fund, but knowing that Cohesion Fund is less urban related, so I concentrate myself on ERDF as such. So this is exactly the same procedure that we are in the co-decision, equal footing, European Parliament and the Council, but here we didn't have enough time to start the negotiation with the Council. We knew that the Council is absolutely not ready to negotiate like it was for CPR. So we secured our mandate for negotiations at the same day that first reading agreement. So first reading position, because there is no agreement. So in the March 2019, we secured our position concerning the first reading, and you have the link to the text. We have the rapporteur Andrea Cozzolino from Italy, from S&D Group, only one rapporteur. And of course, here I would like to tell you that we will have a new parliament, new political groups, new MEPs, and we hope that during July, the European Parliament will make the decision who will be the new rapporteurs. Of course, we would like to follow the logic that the rapporteurs, if they are re-elected, we hope that they will be the same rapporteurs, but everything depends on the on this. This is the don't. So this is the don't rule. So it means if you have a bigger group, so we will see if EPP is the biggest one or S&D, which group will be bigger. You have more rapporteurs. We will see the national delegations inside those groups. So this is not sure if I give you the example of Andrea Cozzolino. Even if Andrea Cozzolino is re-elected, it really depends on his delegation inside the S&D group. So it's not granted that he will be the rapporteur. Of course, we hope that they won't be we will have the same rapporteurs, but so that's why for you, in order to start to lobby the new MEPs, you really need to check from the beginning if those are the same, that you know, the Eurocities knows, you as different cities knows, or you have some new ones, because you need to work on those new ones. In this case, you need to lobby them once again why the partnership agreement is so important. From the political perspective, probably Andrei Novakov will be back. This is the same for Constanze Krell, so CPR rapporteurs. I hope that they will keep the fight. I don't know the Italian political. I don't know if Andrea Cozzolino will be back, and in this case, if he will have the same role. The same for Jan Olbrycht. Even if he is back, we will see if he will be the standing rapporteur on the MFF. So now, with all those files, we are entering in the second reading, so the real negotiations with the Council. And I wanted to show you this European Commission slide on 5 policy objectives, because today you have 5 policy objectives. It's not like before 11, and those objectives are linked to thematic concentration, because you need to concentrate on policy objective 1 and 2. So smarter Europe, everything which is linked to innovation, digital, economic transformation, and the second objective, greener, carbon-free Europe. And with this concentration, you will see that European Parliament position is slightly different. European Commission, concerning the ERDF, wanted to have a thematic concentration on the GNI at national level. We want to keep the same thematic concentration as today, linked to the regional level and to GDP and not to GNI. So we really want to link the thematic concentration on the categories of regions because they are made at the basis of GDP at the regional level and not to mix different systems. So GDP and GNI, and you will see that we want to make it more flexible, especially concerning the policy objective 1. We want to have less, to oblige member states to concentrate a bit less, but we want to keep 30% of concentration on PO2, so less carbon Europe, because we think that, of course, climate-related spending is very important. And linked to this PO1 and PO2, I would like to share with you what we have changed, and this is linked to the urban intergroup negotiations. As you know, urban mobility was proposed to be in PO3, but knowing that PO3 is not counting into the concentration, we change it to have into policy objective 2, because we consider that the urban mobility is part of the greener Europe, and why not to put all the urban mobility related spendings in PO2, and like this, if member states are really spending this money, at least it will be counted on the concentration. But of course, knowing that even inside the European Parliament the discussions are quite hard sometimes, some of the MEPs didn't want to open absolutely PO2 for urban mobility as such, because they pretended that, come on, you will build one metro line and it will consume all your PO2 concentration. So that's why you have those new wording of net zero emission economy and the small scale multimodal urban mobility, and you cannot exceed 10 million euros. It means that we want to spend this money on urban mobility, but rather not to build completely new metro line, but rather huge multimodal I'm searching the word, multimodal platform to change between different modes of transport, between metro and tram and bus. So this kind of mobility as a small scale would be okay. And this is, of course, European Parliament's proposal. So this is not. I leave it open for the negotiations, so you will see once it has been negotiated what would be the final outcome. And just to show you as well that the housing, this is completely new proposal of the European Parliament, that we want to put specific housing related spending inside the PO4, which has not been proposed by the Commission at all. And sustainable urban development, we raised the percentage of ERDF to spend to this. Commission proposed 6%. We want to go much higher to 10%, knowing that during the negotiations with the member states, probably it will go down to 8%, which make all the council and the parliament happy. So we hope that we will finish with 8%. Important for you and for those who are in the partnerships of the urban agenda, we clearly stated that we want to have some money of the European Urban Initiative to be spent on partnerships and or organizational costs of the urban agenda. So it might be the money going directly to you for the partnership organization of the partnerships. And just to show you as well, urban innovative actions, we are happy with the budget proposed by the Commission, but something new, we would like to European Agriculture Fund for Rural Development to put some money into the common pot, and in this case to finance some new UIA actions linked to urban-rural linkages. which I think very interesting, because why only financed by cohesion policy, something which is cross-sectorial, cross-policy. So we will see if it will happen, and in this case we would have part of the urban innovative actions for this joint undertakings. And concerning the urban initiative, I leave you those slides. You will have time to have a deeper look on it. We were fighting for territorial impact assessment, as well as to really oblige the Commission to submit annually to the European Parliament the report on the European Urban Initiative. Like this, the European members of the European Parliament, they know what's happening on the ground. So, and like this, we can have a more say on it. And something new but you should, even if you work for a big cities, you need to know that some MEPs wanted to have a kind of a separate budget. So this is the 5% of ERDF to support non-urban areas. And this is as well just to let you know that inside the European Parliament, of course, we have some different views. Some of MEPs are fighting for urban areas, but some of them who are from not urban, they are afraid that okay, we cannot leave non-urban without any money. So you see that some proposals of MEPs to have new envelope of 5% of the ERDF for non-urban, of which 70.5 for smart villages. So this is just for your information, and we will see if in the end it will pass through the negotiations. And the next steps. So the new parliament will continue the whole negotiations on the MFF and on sectorial and on cohesion policy. We will see the new rapporteurs, so maybe some of them will be the same, some of them will be new, and we will see when the whole negotiations for cohesion will finish, but they will finish only once we have MFF decided, and you should be, I would say, unfortunately, prepared for the late beginning of programming, because really we are not sure whether we will be able to start the 1st January 2021. So this is from my side, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate.
Thank you so much for this presentation. I believe it was extremely interesting and actually also very clear. So hopefully our members find it very useful. On our side, we are going to, now prepare some type of an advocacy plan to see how we can support the new parliament, here including the possible establishment of the urban intergroup that we hope you will continue working on. So we'll be in touch to see how we can support you. Other than that, yes, we are, as you had said, trying to engage our forces to see how we can influence the work of the council, but where we have a certain amount of hope is rather the idea of supporting our cities in the involvement of the programming, with or without the obligation. It should be just normal that cities that have interesting project ideas are involved in this process. So we will do our best to help them to see where they could address the national authorities, and also the opposite way around to see ways how we can promote this idea on the member state level. We will soon draft a briefing note on these cohesion policy related legislative proposals and the Parliament's position. This is just for our members to know that they can expect a note in this regard. And we are available in case of any question. In general, and now getting back to the seminar or the webinar, I'm turning to Pietro,
Yes.
my colleague, if there is any question that he could
Well, we're still
ask
waiting
us.
for questions. I just asked the audience to write their question in the chat, so I would give them some time maybe to think and to write it down. And if there is no question from people that can join and write in the chat, I will then unmute everyone and allow them to ask their questions with their own voice. But I would first give them 2 minutes maybe, so that they can think about it and write them down.
While we are waiting, I can also say that we have recorded this webinar, so I noticed that some of you had some problems at the very beginning to hear hear and see, or hear or see the slides, but no worries. Unless the technology punishes us, we should be able to provide this recording, so you can have a look, and in any case you will receive the presentation. And we are always there for you to help if there's a question about the slide.
All right. As we are not receiving any question via the chat, I will open the floor for direct questions. And if there are no other questions, then we might ask something ourselves. So let's see. Okay. Is there any question?
Everything was so clear
Everything
and
was so
complicated at the same time.
Well, I have received one question from Rotterdam, which is basically, I think you have answered it, but I will still read it out loud while we are waiting. What does the EP expect, hope, fear when the
I think now it's fine. It's just two audios. Yeah.
Okay, so excuse me, there was some echoing, so I will repeat the question of Rotterdam. What does the Parliament expect, hope, or fear when the negotiations, agreements will be finalized?
So concerning this question, as I told you, we fear that the negotiations will end very late. It means probably 2020, German presidency of the Council, and it will provoke the late beginning of the whole programming, because even if, as I told you, even if we have a MFF agreed, you need to have some more time to negotiate all the sectorial regulations linked to different policies one by one between the European Parliament and the Council. So it will prolong the process as such, and not sure whether we will be able to really start the new MFF the first, even hypothetically in place the 1st January 2021. Concerning the cohesion, knowing that we have a huge preparation of programming, we will have delays, and we hope that we won't have backlog in 3 years after beginning of the new MFF. Thank you.
All right. Well, there's still no questions, so I don't know.
I think we can then.
I think it was very, very clear. It was a very extensive presentation. So, okay, Georgios is actually asking, what's the current position for UK local authorities' participation in Interreg programs and urban innovative actions? Hard to answer, I guess.
Hard to answer, and it will be, I mean, the European Parliament needs to have I would say, a very clear position. So from the regional policy perspective, of course, that we would like to have local and regional UK authorities in, but knowing that we need at the same time to respect the whole MFF as such, and if we need to respect whether the EU and UK agreement, we need to unfortunately respect EU-UK agreement. So we will see whether the UK government will negotiate in the way that the UK local and regional authorities will be able to participate in the part of the cohesion. But this is not something that we will block, but it should be really at the highest negotiations of those future relations between EU and UK. So we will really see what is the position of the UK government, and I would suggest to you that this is now up to as well to the UK local and regional governments to lobby their own government to show their position, how it should look like in order to make you happy as well. I of course know that very often the national perspective is not the same than local and regional, but this is not something that we will be obliged to force if the UK as a member state is not putting into the general agreement. So quite difficult to answer this question.
Anyway, thank you very much. George is thanking you, and I think if there are no other questions, we can close it down. I think it's just on time. It's almost 1, so thank you very much.
Thank you. We will keep in touch and see how we can support you in the future. Thank you also to all our members that who stayed with us, who have stayed with us the whole time. I wish you all a nice lunch, and we'll all keep in touch.
Thank you so much.